Before we jump into the wide receiver topic, we got a voicemail here. We have a voicemail here, and as always, if you have thoughts, questions, or concerns about your Alabama Crimson Tide, feel free to drop a voicemail. 205-259-6847. Once again, that number, 205-259-6847, and I will gladly answer your question, thought, or concern to the best of my knowledge here on the show. But let's get to our first voicemail.
Hey, Stephen, it's Tony. I just saw your tweet and stuff about everything you were saying today, but just a few little things. I'll do this quick. Number one, what do you think about the Senior Bowl? I was really disappointed in the South defense was just awful, but I don't see any stats for Terrell or for Anthony Jennings. They didn't seem to, I don't know why, play very much. And then, of course, Maiden played extremely well. Very impressed with him. Then, of course, too, they decided not to block for Jaylen as soon as he stepped on the field. I don't understand that. The kid's out there fighting as much as he can. But the thing is, how do you think they're going to handle the running back situation with Alabama with Nagi coming back? I know Ford went into the portal, but we're pretty deep at that. So how is he going to handle that with the plethora of talented wide receivers we have? So how are they going to manage all that? That's my real true question. Talk to you later. Bye.
Well, in that first thought, just getting back to Senior Bowl, appreciating Miss Tony House bringing her question to the table. For the Senior Bowl, I didn't get a chance to watch it full on. I know I caught some of it. I know I caught some clips here and there. So for starters, when I look at Anthony Jennings and Terrell Lewis, they tried to play them more so in pass coverage a lot more, despite the fact that both guys are edge rushers, outside linebackers, pass rushers. They're not really guys that play in coverage, defending tight ends, slot receivers, running backs. So they tried to put them in some uncomfortable situations. And in some areas, they did okay. In others, still need a bit more work. So it was kind of trial by fire for Lewis and Jennings in playing the passing lanes, playing in coverage. But as far as attacking, affecting the quarterback, and making stops in the backfield throughout the week of practice, they did well. There were a few times where Terrell Lewis could have made a tackle in a game, just struggled to get his arms around the player in general for Team North and secure that edge. Jared Maiden, as you mentioned, was fantastic. I mean, the guy played at corner, played at star, at nickel, played at safety, and not overwhelmed at all by the different positions, just due to his versatility is what made him special with Alabama. Nick Saban had the young man playing at 3 to 4 different positions. And coming out of high school in Texas in the 2016 class, Maiden wanted to pride himself on being a versatile guy. And at the Senior Bowl, he mentioned to different reporters from the NFL Network that his goal in this draft and his goal at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine, and his pro day is to show these NFL scouts and teams that he is the smoothest, most versatile defensive back in the draft, and he did that at the Senior Bowl. And then when you look at Jalen Hurts, Jalen had kind of a mixed bag day, a mixed bag week. He had some throws that were pinpoint accurate on some fade routes, some post patterns to the inside and outside. He dropped balls on the outside shoulder of receivers. Had a beautiful back shoulder throw to Jaylen Jennings of the Tennessee Volunteers in the Senior Bowl for Team South. Hurts was the Team South Offensive Practice Player of the Week, one of the Practice Players of the Week. So had a good showing, and is showing or displaying, as I should say, to scouts that if you draft him, if you take him, if you select him, he can be special. But it was kind of a mixed bag during the previous week for Jalen Hurts. When I look at Alabama at running back, and it's interesting because you will have 7 guys on scholarship with Jerome Ford now at the University of Cincinnati. You got Nagi Harris, who's back. Of course, he's the guy that people feel like can potentially have a Heisman-type season. with him coming back, with the offensive line you could potentially have, especially if you take the motive I used in putting big Landon Dickerson at right tackle and having Darian Dalcourt play center. But, Nagi Harris is the main guy. Behind him, you have Brian Robinson, Trey Sanders, Keelan Robinson. Then, of course, the trio of Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, and Kyle Edwards. So you have 7 guys. Me personally, I feel like they keep all 7. Nick Saban wants to keep all 7. But I would take Brian Robinson and put him, or convince him, persuade him that his best bet in terms of getting drafted would be at that fullback H-back spot. That's how I would say it. Put him right there, because despite the fact that we enjoy and we like Brian Robinson, at the end of the day, people want to see Trey Sanders, people want to see Nagi Harris, people want to see Keelan Robinson, and the young guys coming in. So I would convince Brian to go to the fullback H-back route, but I can also understand from the fan perspective of what if somebody gets hurt, what if somebody gets injured, what if somebody goes down, and you want to have a guy that's got experience right there to pick up the slack. And Brian Robinson certainly has experience. So then there's that. When you look at Alabama at receiver, even with Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs gone, having Devonta Smith and Jaylen Waddle with a mixture of other guys of whom we're about to get to in a second here, those guys at wide receiver under Holman Wiggins as the position coach, I feel like whomever is playing quarterback for the Crimson Tide, whether it's Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Talia Tagovailoa, these receivers are going to put you in positions to make quality throws and get explosive plays down the field. But appreciate Ms. Tony House there for that question. But as we get into now the topic at wide receiver for the Crimson Tide, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs III, both guys projected to be first rounders when you look at the 2020 draft coming up here in April. But aside from Devonta Smith and Jaylen Waddle, both of these guys we know they're game changers. They're special. Waddle with the speed, the quickness, the athleticism, the elusiveness. Devonta Smith, the hands, the long strides, the route running, the clutchness, if you will, when you dive into his 2 career game-winning touchdown catches. Devonta Smith, this past season, 68 catches, 1,256 yards, 14 touchdowns, led the team in both receiving yards and touchdowns. Jaylen Waddle, 33 catches, 560 yards receiving, and 6 scores. The idea, the question, the thought is, who will be the third guy? Who will be somebody else that will break out in 2020 starting in spring ball? Who will be that third person to join Waddle and Smitty? And when you look at Alabama at wide receiver, Slade Bolden back, John Mechie Jr. back, Tyrone Shavers back, Xavier Williams back. There's actually a poll that's done via yours truly on Twitter at Coaching M. Smith. I actually have a poll out right now. And there's a poll also on the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube page about this very topic, about an Alabama at wide receiver. So definitely want you, the fans, to take part in the poll. Who do you think will be or have the breakout year at wide receiver aside from Smith and Waddle? So definitely get your vote on in the poll, whether it's at Coaching M. Smith, my Twitter account, or at the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube page. If there's a name you think will break out that is not on the poll, feel free to comment your thoughts right there. But Bolden back, Mechie, Shavers, Xavier Williams, and then you have 3 of your incoming freshmen with Thaiu Jones-Bell, the kid out of Florida. I just believe this is a guy that is Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, and Jerry Jeudy all mixed into one. I got a chance to see Jones-Bell at the All-America Bowl, at the Under Armour All-America practice in Orlando, Florida, prior to the Citrus Bowl. And folks, I'm just telling you right now, I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm just shaking up the dice game and letting that sucker fall. When I watched Thaiu Jones-Bell, hands, body type, route running. He's got it all. He's got it all. I mean, guys were just bouncing off of him, couldn't tackle him. He's a solid 6'1", between 185 and 190 pounds. The kid is the real deal. You look at Tyrone Holden at 6'3", 195, 200 pounds, physical, big body guy. He patterns his game after Julio Jones, and we all know how major Julio Jones was. I don't have to go into no documentary of a story of how big Julio was. We all know this. Tyrone Holden, he patterns his career or tries to pattern his game after Jones. So that's another guy. And then Javon Baker out of Georgia, another name that though he is not an early enrollee, still a hard commitment for the Crimson Tide and somebody of whom is a playmaker as well. So it's awesome. And I've said this once before, Nick Saban is starting to really more so hit on getting the quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa sort of opened that door for him. But prior to getting Tua, for the longest of time, Nick Saban was money in the bank. Nick Saban was 7-11 on the crap table if you're playing in Vegas. Nick Saban was cherry Bell, or cherry, excuse me, if you're pulling the slot machine. Nick Saban was that money. When you talk about recruiting at defensive back, linebacker, running back, and wide receiver. Those four positions were money. Defensive back, running back, linebacker, and wide receiver. Those were the money positions for Nick Saban, and he does it again. Does it again with having Bolden, Mechie, Shavers, and Williams, kind of your experienced guys. And then you got Thiu Jones-Bell, Tyrone Holden, and Javon Baker, the freshman coming in. So, fans, as much as you enjoy Smitty and Waddle, as much as you love the second half, or the better half of 2nd and 26 with Waddle baby, as much as you love those two, who is the third person? Who is somebody else on this roster that you are just anticipating to explode? Me personally, I'm waiting for Tyrone Shavers. I think it's time for Tyrone Shavers. At 6'6", 216 pounds, 210 pounds, 215 pounds, out of Louisville, Texas, excuse me. This is a guy that's got the size. He runs a verified 4.3, 840, a guy that's a jump ball target, got some playing time this past season. The depth at wide receiver has kept him from more so getting on the field. But when you look at the size, the length, the athleticism, the hands, of course, the speed that he has, here is somebody that if you get him on the field, if he breaks out, this is your red zone target. This is your jump ball target, 50-50 ball target. This can be your security blanket on third down. Tyrone Shavers can do a lot of things. I like John Mechie. I really do. I like Xavier Williams. I think he is one of the more underrated guys. Slade Bolden, to me, is the next Julian Edelman. He can do some of everything. But the guy that I'm looking forward to seeing break out, I think it's finally his time, his moment, Tyrone Shavers. You can't coach 6'6". You can coach a bunch of things, but you can't coach 6'6". That's one of those things. If you got it or pimp juice, you don't have it. And he's got it, and I'm ready to see him get on the field and do his thing. Well, folks, comment your thoughts on the bottom of the YouTube page. Who do you want to see at wide receiver break out and take the next step in the 2020 season, starting off in spring ball? Well, we're going to go to our final break here, folks. When we get back, we will wrap it up. We will put a bow on this thing known as, in my own words, don't touch that dial, folks. Tidying up loose ends. Be back.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today.
Tidying up loose ends here on a Monday. Fresh new week, new show to start off. In my own words, the podcast. Really happy that you guys were able to join us here on Touchdown Alabama Magazine, and got a chance to first and foremost pay homage to Kobe Bryant and the tragic loss of him and his daughter Gianna. Just shook everybody up. Just nobody expected this. Nobody expected or wanted to see, Bryant go out like this. There's probably a bunch of people still thinking, is this real? Like, is this truly actually happening? Definitely, our prayers to his wife, Vanessa, and the rest of the Bryant family, who in a nightmare right now. Just comfort to that entire family and everybody that was really close to Kobe and Gianna. We were able to pay homage there. From that, we looked into some updates in regards to Alabama football. Big ups to, of course, Carl Scott, the defensive backs coach, in not taking the co-DC opportunity at Bangor, deciding to stay at the University of Alabama to coach corners, keeping that continuity in line. We got a chance to dive into Carl Tucker, the graduate transfer from North Carolina, who visited the University of Alabama over the weekend at tight end. Has not made a move on where he will transfer to. However, if he makes Alabama his new home, if he commits to the Crimson Tide, definitely a spot, an area of need that would be filled by Nick Saban at that tight end position. So touched on Carl Tucker there. We looked at, of course, Scott Lashley has chosen his transfer destination, which is Mississippi State. Nigel Knott has placed his name in the transfer portal. We looked at guys in the Senior Bowl who stepped up, representing the University of Alabama, and even one Nate Oates. I mean, big ups to Coach Oates. He is doing his thing where Alabama men's basketball is concerned. From there, we dove into the jack linebacker position for the Crimson Tide, a position I am very much so excited about. The battle, the true competition. Who will be the next stud taking a quarterback's head off? Very excited about who will win that job for the Crimson Tide coming up in spring ball. Got a chance to look at your voicemails as fans, and also Alabama at wide receiver. As much as we love Devonta Smith and Jaylen Waddle, and we do believe that, but there are some other guys on this roster that will look to break out, and got a chance to touch on a few of those guys. As always, I encourage you to download the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. Get that today. Please invest in yourself as a Crimson Tide fan. Do not let this opportunity pass you by of wanting to know more about your favorite college football team. Be the envy of your friends. Be the person in the know. You can get this app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple. Google Play Store if you have the Android phone. Podcast options if your audio listening pleasures just so happen to be iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast.fm, TuneIn Radio, whatever your audio listening pleasures are. We got you covered right here at the bottom of the screen. When we get back on Wednesday, got more Alabama football, more conversation to dive into. But for all of us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith. Until Wednesday, peace. This has been In My Own Words.